Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Pryce, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesys Adaptation of Warhammer 40k's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Vis, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharpe, and Borovic as Morgan Rhalls. My report shows that the Inquisitorial Band returned to the fortress where Valentyne had Morgan and Eli arrested. Eli is trying to sober up. Attikus spoke on the Navy man's behalf as he respected his piety, and Morgan managed to sneak a gun into her cell with her. Can Valentyne determine the value of his two new erstwhile allies? And will Morgan survive the attentions of a beastman doctor? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From the personal journal of Lyriel Asher, Steward, bracket, last heir, bracket, of Hearthold. Grandpapa, Grandmama, you would truly blanch at what they've done to your gardens. It is truly amazing how something of such tremendous beauty can become something so horrific with just a few chains and interrogative intent. Morgan, a beastman, has entered your room. He's as we described, just like a very large fellow, kind of like one good horn, one clipped horn, wearing a threadbare aristocratic coat. You're hit with again that stench, that kind of like overwhelming smell of kind of like any hairy animal. And as he looks around the room, suddenly his eyes go wide, and his just like over top of his little pince-nez, like they look fucking huge. And he just says, "My apologies, patient. There is so much wrong with this room." And he immediately just sweeps into the room, and out of his coat, like he's Kate Beckinsale in Underworld throwing like weird little dagger things, he is just whipping out Aquillas. Like just Aquillas on like little stands. It's literally like if you go to like a New York, like if you're in New York, you go like a gift shop, they have all the like tacky, shitty little versions of like the Statue of Liberty and everything else. It's like that, but of imperial paraphernalia. He is just slapping signs of the Emperor everywhere he goes, and you can hear him reciting in High Gothic prayers to the Emperor, almost like he's trying to sanctify the space. And he pauses in front of each one and makes a sign of the Aquila, mutters to himself, touches it to his forehead, places it, moves on to the next one, and he's at this for conservatively like a minute, just kind of completely ignoring you as he sets all this up. Is there anything you'd be doing while he does this? He is also taking up a lot of this room. Like right. There is not, like, again, we're kind of thinking like 40K Beast from Beauty and the Beast. So like a big fucking dude just kind of sweeping around.
Yeah, I think when he first showed up in the room and was that big spooky presence, the first thing she would have done was pinch herself to make sure she was awake and this is really happening. And then once he busies himself with walking around and putting up all the Aquillas, she would basically keep dodging away from him so she's as far away from him on the other side of the room, but also be trying to look for the clip for her gun.
Okay, amazing. So Del, let's do a roll to see how successful you are at finding that clip.
All right.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and say that we're looking at probably a difficulty of, I'm actually gonna say 4.
Okay. It's a room with a lot of crap in it.
Well, it's also that it's not a dedicated search, right? Like you're literally like dodging around a massive guy who has absolutely no sense of personal space or of like how large he is, or where you are. Like if you aren't moving, he is absolutely slamming you into drawers and like knocking you over things. So it's kind of like it's you've got time, sort of, but it's also not an ideal search circumstance. So yeah, we'll say that's your difficulty level. I think I don't really know if there are any. I'll say a setback for just how off-put you are by a beastman being in a small confined room with you and you without a weapon. Is there anything else you would push for there, do you think, Del?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me as far as she is off-put. It's just a tactic of trying to busy yourself and get something to protect herself. She's not comfortable with this creature person.
All right, fair enough. So I think I'm inclined to say perception, but I would take an argument for a streetwise. What do you think is Morgan's?
Well, they are the same, so
cool. Then perception
definitely can be perception. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Before you roll, Del, how? I think I know the answer to this, but I'm curious to hear your version. How much of how faithful is Morgan to the sort of like imperial religion around the Emperor?
Morgan has an extremely complicated relationship with the Imperial Creed, let's say. It is multi-layered, and so there is an external versus internal way of dealing with it. Okay.
In that case, I'm actually going to give you one more setback. I was thinking if you're like super jazzed to see all the Aquilas go up, you'd get a boost. But I think based on your history of cults that didn't seem like cults until everyone was in the cult.
What you're talking about?
Yeah, of course. What? No. Who am I? Just some disembodied voice. I think any fanatic would likely actually be fairly anxiety inducing to you, just regardless of whether it's like a fanaticism for the Imperium. It's still the last time, like in your mind, it'll always be like the people like this led to XYZ thing.
Yeah.
What am I talking about?
Right. What are you talking about? But I think that just in general, if it was coming from her, it would be different. But coming from a weird beast creature who wants to say Imperium stuff, she's like, none of this is cool. And I would say that even as this is happening, she's probably keeping it mostly together. But I think that Toby in the box where he happens to be is like rattling around, just like uncomfortable bird noises.
It's just anytime a bird is in a box, the box is shaking. There's just a couple of inquisitorial goons being like, I'm not opening it.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So I'm not gonna do a story point for this. I think it's just her like panicked thing she does while this is happening.
Great. So. Yeah. And we're sitting at 2 and 3 in.
Oh, we are. You're resetting because you had all 5 last time, Tom.
Oh, did I? Last thing I had written down was 2 and 3. Well, you know what? Man. Fuck it. I'll keep all 5. And Del, I'm gonna use a story point. It is hard to find clips, so now you're 1 and 4. Good work. But you can't spend any of this round because I spent.
And this roll is exactly the same except for the 2 setbacks. So it's leaned against me, but otherwise it's the same roll both ways. Oof. 1 advantage, 1 failure.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say the advantage, you can give yourself a boost on your next thing. Or actually, because it's just 1 advantage, you pass the boost to the next dice roll.
Whatever dice roll, yeah.
Yeah, the retinue. And I think the way we'll sort of storybook that is you do gain a slightly better sense of the room. Even though you don't find what you're looking for, I think based on the way you've described how Morgan's brain works, you're starting to see the like, so dumb, I'm putting this in evil within terms, but it's like, what could you hide under? What's the closet you could hide in? Could you get on top of this? Like you start to get that sort of understanding of the space. But yes, the clip is nowhere to be found, and he we'll say he finishes a bit sooner than as a result of the failure. So having placed everything around, he sighs, and just the massive broad-backed shoulders just kind of like drop an inch. And when he turns around, he has an auto saw in one hand. And he just says, "So, what seems to be the problem, patient?" And he begins to move in on you. Meanwhile, Eli, you are all by your lonesome. awaiting interrogation. We haven't actually checked in with you properly since you got hauled away. Where Morgan finds herself in a bedroom, sort of like a guest room off of the gardens. You were in a much more gruesome tool shed that clearly at one point would have been beautiful at some point. Like there's all sorts of ornate ironwork in here. There's a lot of kind of filigree. Like it's a beautiful space. Of course, that's all been kind of let go to shit as the interrogations happen. And what was previously probably very nice sort of like detail work is now permanently caked in that kind of rusty brown dried blood.
Right.
There's a large wooden table in the center of the room that has manacles hanging off it and is covered in deep indentations from bladed weapons and that sort of thing. There are still like potters and things hanging, but they all just hold kind of like old dead greenery, sort of long dead plants, kind of incongruously, there was an old farmer's hat, just kind of a wide-brimmed beige, faded, sort of round-topped hat, with an ancient feather stuck in the band, hanging off a hook, forgotten in a corner. The kind of detail that people who use this space daily would never notice, but as a stranger kind of stumbling into it, you would.
Can I reach the hat?
Yeah, you can go for that.
Okay. Is there anything I need to know about this room? Anything else?
No, just that it's the air smells of sanitizer in a kind of gross surgery way. Light comes in through a heavily grated skylight. There's two skylights that are heavily grated, so it's not like they're just like open glass. But otherwise a very secure room. This isn't like we nailed a couple boards together and the light's streaming in through the gaps.
No, that's
like
good. That's even more reason to grab the hat. So having requested a place to sleep it off, Eli assumes that this is the best place they could give him, takes off his coat, wraps it up like a pillow, grabs the hat, climbs onto the table, lays down, puts the hat over him, and
honestly,
attempts
Eli,
to fall asleep.
It's pretty fucking comfortable. It
Perfect.
is like, the table feels kind of like the bunk you had shipboard. I feel like Eli's never been a soft bed.
Look, in wartime, you learn to sleep anywhere, anytime.
Also, I feel like Battlefleet Gothic is not known for its like we imported a lot of cushy beds. It's like, you're not sleeping outside. That's great. This is the best day of your life.
It's fantastic.
I assume there's other Battlefleets. I always just think of all of them as Gothic because of the game that I bought into and played literally against myself because no one else fell for that con but me.
It's my only reference for the Imperial Navy. It was like books about them. So therefore, yeah.
All right, good stuff. Ryan, you put up a finger. Did you?
Yeah,
also
I definitely also own Battlefleet Gothic and have to play against. Let's continue.
Good stuff. On we go. So, with all that in mind, Eli, you fall immediately into the kind of the sleep of the overtired, like deeply, deeply burnt out man. Yeah. Between all the
still
booze,
drunk, like
I know.
It hasn't been that long.
Well, no, and also the drugs you used were like a temporary flush. Like I feel like you got to pay twice for that on the way out. Like that's not a great. Great sense. So, Laura, I am going to say I'm going to drop your strain in half for now. This is the cumulative effect of your rough day. You'll earn some back from sleeping.
Okay.
But it occurs to me that we probably should have dinged you for this earlier, and we didn't. So here you go. So
favored for me. It's an odd number, so favored for me or for
yeah. You can round up.
Okay. Cool.
Again, like. Unless Valentyne decides to fucking kill you for being a heretic, you'll get all of this back.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're tracking.
Cool.
We don't often get to track strain in our kind of corner of 40K because usually the stuff you're doing doesn't really affect that. But it would seem to me that this is a very specific, very appropriate time to take some strain damage. Great. So with that, you fall into an uneasy but still rather comfortable sleep.
I don't think it's uneasy, Tom, unless there's some outside forces.
I would say uneasy. Well, no, okay, yeah, I was gonna say uneasy because of the toll you've taken on your system, but also realistically, I feel like if you went to bed sober, your body would be like, "What the fuck is this nonsense?" So, okay, sure, you fall into an easy.
Damn right.
Sad sleep under a slightly musty hat that honestly provides excellent light blocking.
Perfect.
All right. Valentyne and Vis, you'd received additional information from Genesys Adaptation previously. You got a kind of a quick update. You're preparing to interrogate Morgan and Eli. Any final preparations you want to make before we carry on back there?
Well, I doubt these two have eaten. So Valentyne would put it in order for like a nice breakfast, like the kind of shit the Inquisitors are eating. Recaf and then ale, maybe. Yeah, he'd put it in order for it. I don't know if he'd bring it into the room. And they'd want like to bring in kind of 3 chairs, one for Attikus, one for himself, and one for whoever he's interrogating in these rooms.
Okay, amazing. So we'll say the time it takes for Morgan to sort out her beastman issue is the time it takes for the breakfast to arrive. And I think, Ryan, based on the way you're describing Valentyne doing this, I'm imagining as part of the charm offensive to set this up, you wouldn't like show up and wait, like breakfast can just arrive. You would want to show up with the food.
Correct. Yeah, it's coming in as he comes in.
Great. Awesome. So you place your order. The kitchens are running all day here because you've got Inquisitors and retinues coming in at all hours. You've got troops on regular rotation. So sure enough, off they go to deal with that. And Attikus and Valentyne, you wait. Meanwhile, Morgan, there is a beastman bearing down on you with an auto saw, and as he steps a bit closer, he looks at it, and his eyes, if they could go wider, go wider. And he says, "Oh my, this probably looks rather menacing, doesn't it? Oh dear. I try to always show an object that proves my doctorial bona fides, if you will. And this autosaw is truly the most doctorly item I own. But I realize that it is rather more threatening than a stethoscope or the like. You'll have to forgive me." And he stows it immediately, like clicks it off and stows it, and kind of like straightens his jacket. And then he bows in an extraordinarily ornate and courtly way. Like the full leg out, like, calf extension, curls his wrist. I don't think Morgan, this is like, court on Terra, like Lords of Terra bullshit. So I don't think any of this would be a throne world kind of thing, not a you kind of thing. But you'd probably, I don't know of it from.
Yeah. Yeah, she's visited a bunch of different worlds and that kind of stuff, so she knows of this. She is not giving back any of this in kind. Her expression on her face is disgusted. She's legit covering her face, like from the smell. She's not being kind in response whatsoever. Like none of this is winning her over.
Totally fair. So he finishes his bow, and he says, "My name is Dr. Thaddeus Thunderhorn, resident physician and dedicated disciple of the God Emperor." And he mutters the same prayer in High Gothic, and he pulls out a necklace, and it's an Aquila that is almost worn down to a nub. Like you can still faintly see kind of the rough shape, but it almost looks like an arrowhead that you found that's been like underground for so long it's lost its shape. And he rubs it with both thumbs and then kisses it and puts it back in his under his shirt, or just like into a tuft of fur. And he says, "I have been tasked with seeing to your infirmaries and needs before the Inquisitor comes to speak to you. Is there anything I may do for you?"
Morgan shakes her head, and she is pushed up against that wall. Like even if he's given her room, she is like her entire back is touching that wall. It's just, "There is nothing wrong with me. What do you want?"
Well, as I said, I was merely sent here to make sure that you were okay. We want to ensure that guests of the Inquisition are, of course, treated humanely here, as is the will of the God Emperor and his golden throne on Terra. And same ritual, just like the kiss back in the shirt.
Being humane requires being human. Do not touch me.
Ah, yes, of course, my form. Well, I am, of course, aware of the heretical nature of my very existence. It is part of the reason that I serve so fervently at the will of the Inquisition and the God Emperor of Man. And he pulls it and kisses it, puts it back. He says, when one is an abomination, one must do everything one can to make up for the breath that one steals from the proper human-born children of his glorious majesty, the Emperor of Man. And thus do I serve at the leisure of the Imperium. But it would seem that you are fine. The Emperor, of course, has filled you with health and vitality, as is his will. But should you need anything, I am only a call away. And I promise I'll leave the saw in the bag this time. And his laugh is like a weird, like halfway between a donkey, like a donkey's bleating and a goat's, like it's like a hee-haw combination. It is truly grating. And you just see his throat like pulsating as it forces out this this kind of horrific laugh. He just nods. He looks around at the room, kind of studies his handiwork. And sufficiently convinced that the room is blessed enough to be worthy of your presence. He bows again and leaves, and putting a little card on the doorknob that says it's like a patient is A-OK. And there is a just like an Aquila that's been he's clearly drawn all these himself, so it's like badly drawn because his fingers aren't great for pens. So it's just kind of a rough sketch of an Aquila with like a Medicaid symbol under it, kind of very crudely done. And he says, someone will be with you shortly. He smiles and closes the door. The smell remains.
Ugh, Morgan just like pacing in circles and like trying to get the smell away and just not happy, but trying to kind of ramp back down. But at least,
which is how the Inquisitor and the Colonel find you. So Valentyne and Attikus, you arrive at Morgan's rooms. You pass Thaddeus Thunderhorn, who is deep in conversation with another member of the Inquisition, who is kind of like listening to his report with rapt attention. Clearly, I think to both of you, it's very clear that he is part of this, that he is like an accepted member. I think Valentyne, you particularly would know.
Oh, if he's loose and walking the halls, Valentyne doesn't even have questions. This guy would have to be so cleared to be alive in this building that like he not only is he here, he's valuable. Like Valentyne, I don't even think would have like any hesitation to engage with this doctor. This is just a useful tool.
Great. Fantastic. So
Attikus, on the other hand, is stopped dead in his tracks, slack-jawed, looking at this creature walking down the hall, and begins to close the fingers of his power fist into a fist.
Colonel,
as this guy, yes, sir.
You seem to be distracted. We need to carry out our interrogation, yes?
Yes, sir. Just keeping an eye out for heresy.
Yes. There will be minimal in this building, one would hope. But let's continue forward.
Right. Yes, sir. After you.
Excellent. And then Valentyne he's got his data laid out. He's got like the breakfast order and stuff.
Ryan,
there.
I'm curious what breakfast you think Valentyne would have ordered for Morgan. And obviously I'm sure there's a 40K equivalent, but if you want to give it to us in like what we would eat terms, or even in just broad terms of like, it'd be this kind of thing. But I'm curious kind of what he thinks Morgan would like, so that when Morgan reacts, we can determine whether it's actually what she likes.
Morgan, from the description, is like a bit of a dapper dresser, a bit debonair in style. So I think he would lean towards like up high food. So we're talking like pastries, high-end recaf, like nice shit. In the sense of like the continental breakfast at a very high-end hotel would be what he would aim for in this room.
Cool. Yeah. And I think like as easily as getting low grade cafeteria level food, because fancy fuckers eat here. So waka waka. Excellent. So Valentyne and Attikus, you sweep into the room to find Morgan running in circles, dusting the air with her hands in the most effective way of getting rid of a room-wide stench. You're both assailed with, again, just that sort of a heavy, wet fur scent. And you also notice that there are just a fuck ton of Aquillas set up, just all over the place.
What a pleasantly decorated room. All right, so we've brought chairs and we've brought breakfast. Why don't you sit down instead of fanning your face while walking in circles?
I can't smell anymore now anyway. Fine. She walks over and sits down.
Morgan,
Nice.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just nice to see you again, Inquisitor, was it? Not Commissar?
No. Trained as a commissar, switched sides, one could say, within the Emperor's organizations. It is a pleasure to get to talk to you here. There are so many Inquisitors who love to just walk down the path of torture, demand answers. And he pours himself a coffee as he's having this conversation. The food is there. He gestures to Attikus, so like gives Attikus a plate to like, get himself some of the pastries. Like this is very personable. It's not my
Sorry,
belief.
no, don't mean to break your flow, Ryan. Morgan, how are you responding to everything that's been set up? Are you eating it? Are you staring at it? Like, because I feel like, Ryan, you're going to launch into like the interrogation. So I just want to get a visual of what's going on with Morgan before we hop in there.
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah.
this would be all small talk while giving people food.
Totally. I think she would just sit and have her arms crossed, but as soon as Valentyne is pouring it and Attikus, she will only eat anything after she watches them eat it. Yeah, it's definitely. But she'll hold the recap, and especially if she's watching it being poured from the same thing, and then she'll be like, okay, and take a recap at least. But I don't think she's touching the food.
Gotcha.
Oh, good. I mean, I see you're somewhat cautious. Is there anything here you'd like? I'll eat one first.
Well, I'm not hungry yet. I would like to hear what you have to say and what you would like me to say to you.
Yes. So all I'd like to hear from you is the truth, which strikes me as tremendously unlikely, which is why we're going to have a fun little conversation, and then I'll go talk to your friend in another room, and then perhaps I'll come back and talk to you. You seem like a very capable survivalist. So much so that you served under Inquisitor Cainhurst, and from what I can remember, there are practically no records on why. Attikus, did you find anything on why Morgan had served with Cainhurst?
No, Inquisitor, I did not.
Why did you serve with that Inquisitor?
I served with Cainhurst because he wanted me to. If you note from his records, he had a habit of collecting strays. He liked to try and save people.
Yes, but there was a specific reference to one specific reason why you were brought aboard, and I'm interested to know why that is. Because you were included in one major mission, and then no others, which is fascinating.
I suppose it is a little fascinating. I helped serve on Cainhurst's ship. I did not go on many missions, but as you probably know from that, he kept very poor notes.
Correct. So what did you do? This is beginning to feel like pulling teeth, and I don't like doing that because I don't like creating negative emotions in people because that's a sin against the Emperor. So I tend to just shoot them in the face. I like to get ahead of that because I believe we could have a functional working relationship. My concern is that you are entirely self-interested, you lie fluidly, and you refuse to take commands while prioritizing your own survival, which is somewhat hard when wanting to take someone into a combat situation as an Inquisitor where we all may die and the galaxy's at stake, because if you don't listen, change your mind, or leave, the galaxy dies, which is a bit of a concern. So I'll be upfront about that as my big problem we're trying to sort out here. Why fuck around if you're going to do this? Oh, sorry, that is a curse word that I learned from 2 hive siblings. Why fuck around if we're going to work together? I'll trade you. I'll ask you a question, and if you give me an honest answer, you can ask me a question, and I'll give you an honest answer.
So,
Inquisitor.
as you consider this, Del, something I want to throw out, because I was thinking about how we were going to do this session after Ryan put 2 of our party members under arrest at the end of last session. And I think basically the way I'd like to play this is I'm, as you know, always happy to just live in the role play of it. But because we have 2 characters at odds with each other, I don't want us to get to like an improv sequence of just like no one being able to actually advance anything because we're stuck. So basically, Del, if you're going to tell him the truth in this like truth for a truth, totally fine. No action needed. If you're going to lie, we're going to have a roll off to see who, and actually this one goes for you as well. If Valentyne is going to lie about something, we'll have a roll off to see who wins.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Morgan? I feel like if I'm going to expect trust, I should give some. You go first.
Inquisitor, before I answer your question, let me just say, I would not be a very good servant of the Inquisition if I gave up all of my secrets right away. I have a loyalty to Canehurst, even though he is dead. But if you wish me to be loyal to you, I need to know that you are loyal to the Imperium. As you know, there are many secrets in the Inquisition. How can I trust that you are one of the good ones and not just working for your own means?
Well, I was just raised to Inquisitor after defeating Fabius Bile. Don't know if you've heard of him. Bit of a bastard. Also, we defeated an Orcish conspiracy, and the Lord Inquisitor of this subsector has great faith in me personally.
The reason that I joined with Canehurst and why it is not in the records is it is quite high in clearance. If I tell you this, perhaps you could die. Perhaps I could die. If that is worth the truth to you.
Oh, yes, that's fine. Let's continue.
She's
Attikus, are you all right if we
"Eh."
both die?
Attikus nods while he's munching down on pastries. Like, it's are you kidding me? The guy who like faces down orc hordes every day, like, yeah, I'm all right with dying.
Yes, that's fine by us. Continue.
All right. She is visibly uncomfortable. This is like, if I tell you this, I ask for one more thing.
Well, ask away.
Regardless of what you decide to do with me, I hope you will take Eli. He was a good man, and he does not deserve the things that have happened to him.
Well, I'm hoping to take you both. So, yes, let's continue. I can't make... If I promised you'd know I was full of shit. So, let's just say I will give him a thoroughly fair shake of the leg, as I myself have received in the very recent past.
All right. Well, I was taken by Canehurst. He stopped me from being executed because I am from a quarantine planet that is strict from the records of the Imperium. He wished to know about the reasons why, and if he could, I don't know, attempt to help chase down people who had fled from there like I had.
Interesting. I think I've got a roll to know whether or not I think it's the truth.
Yeah. So, Del, what is your? You are telling the truth, right?
I am telling the truth. Surprisingly.
That is surprising. So This is an interesting one. Normally, for these opposed checks, I was thinking we would just use like, oh, like if you're lying, it'll be like your cunning is the difficulty, blah blah blah, or we will both roll.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what?
Want to roll a perception against like difficulty 2 for general paranoia?
I mean, your paranoia is so high, though, is my problem. So here's what I think I actually want. I'm gonna have you both roll. This is gonna be an opposed check, but it's kind of an opposed check to like be genuine, which in this grim darkness of the future where there was only war, it is it's hard. It's hard to be a Ted Lasso in this future realm. So Dale, we're going for your big stats, I assume, of presence and cool. Or sorry, I would take charm as well, but either cool or charm. And then Ryan, because we're going with inquisitorial interrogation-y stuff, I think perception's the right call. So perception and cunning. I'd also take skullduggery and cunning if you're trying to figure out if she's pulling one over on you.
I think perception. I think
so perception
he's
is
just
like observing the ticks and everything else, doing the old LA Noir thing, or skullduggery would be like
he's a noir boy. He's got his interrogation set up just the way he wanted it in a room full of Aquas. Cool. He's here to find out what's up.
Ironically, you get a boost from Dell.
Oh yeah, you do. That's how I went forward for you.
So one boost from that. Ryan, how does Valentyne feel about Morgan so far? I mean, I know you've kind of literally just declared it, but he's also kind of he's at work when he's saying that. Is he leaning towards trust or distrust right now?
Middle of the road. He'd like to trust. He knows there's use, so this isn't somebody he's going to like throw away, no matter how much he talks about that kind of shit.
Yeah,
but survivalism has kind of been demonstrated, so I would say he's leaning toward it. Like this story could very well be true. His real search is like, how far off the leash can I let this person after I let them out of this box? Like that's really more it, which is like, do they go in the brig in the ship, or do they get to kind of walk on their own? Or are they somebody he'd like send out to get a thing? Are all the big questions.
Okay, so I don't think any boost or setback for that. If you were like leaning trust, then you get a boost to it. If you're leaning setback, whatever. But it sounds like you're still middle of the road enough that it doesn't make sense to me to add any extra stuff there. I will give you a boost for Attikus. Having someone else observing in the room kind of gives you a better sense of it. And let's go ahead with those rolls. Oh, you need
I don't have a difficulty.
Yeah, Del, what is your presence?
My presence is just 3, and I don't have anything cool or charm, so it's just 3.
All right, so 3. Ryan, difficulty of 3, and Ryan, you said Valentyne is not that suspicious right now, or at least he's still trying to figure things out. So Morgan, I'd say difficulty of 2. It's just like essentially what I'm looking for is your nervousness and or your overly slick delivery of these sorts of things going to accidentally veer into
right.
Yeah. So when people assume sarcasm in a line, you're like, no, I meant that genuinely, and they're like, I didn't know. Are you the ambiguous text message? That's what we want to know.
That's why I said she has the resting bitch face. It's just like, what is there? What is going on? Who knows?
Great. Okay. That sounds good. Do either of you want to use a story point? There is one.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Cool.
Just the 3 and 2 for me.
Yep. And you know what? I don't like holding this many story points. So I'm actually going to spend 2. I'm going to upgrade a green for each of you to a yellow.
I rolled already, but I'll do it.
Never mind. It's too late.
No. Too late? Okay.
Only for Lucius Valentyne now.
I also already rolled, so let's find out what happens. All right, so
1 and 4
success,
for me.
3 advantage, 1 triumph.
And I got 2 successes, 2 threats.
Hot damn.
Okay. All right. So Valentyne, I think you do believe her story. You've rolled overwhelmingly well, so that kind of I think dispels any doubt you have about this particular story. I think the threat on your side, Morgan, is that yes, you're telling the truth, but is there more? It is just again that uncertainty piece. And Ryan, given that you're talking about Valentyne sorting through this as how much faith can I put in this person? cautious optimism, but still a little bit of concern based on that role.
Yeah, he's comforted because he sees a lot of himself in Morgan, in that, like, this is a person who cannot charm anyone, but who is an excellent dissembler amongst the steel facade of vague sociopathy. All right, I believe you. It's your turn. What question do you have for me and or Attikus, of course?
A question for you, Inquisitor. I wish to know a secret that you have that he does not know, and points at Attikus.
Pausing only briefly to like look up.
Interesting. Attikus, what don't you know about me?
Works a bit of pastry out of his mouth. He's never had pastry before. The shit's delicious.
In bikes and pastries in the same day? Like,
What a day.
it was a hell of a
I've
day.
never been to a place like this. Well, let's see. I don't know. Exactly how you came to be Inquisitor. You know, the specific circumstances.
Yes, well, to give you a bit of my, shall we say, backstory, I was raised in the Schola Progenium, trained as a commissar, and caught the attention of an Inquisitor for my somewhat, one could say, gifted and ruthless performance of my role on the battlefield. Tagged along, was raised to Interrogator when my ability with mysteries and, one could say, deception came to the fore. Then there was an unfortunate breach of a Geller field causing a major ship of the Imperial line to crash into a hive world, which I survived and the Inquisitor did not. Then I was raised on the battlefield to the rank of Inquisitor, adventures, and ended up here today, where it was ratified, just yesterday, officially, my promotion, by the Lord Inquisitor of this subsector.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It is quite nice. So, what got your world quarantined, and what did Canehurst need you for?
Are we still playing questions? I thought you wanted one.
No, I said we'd go back and forth, so I have a number of them. You can keep asking, too. It's part of the game.
She's gonna take a long drink of recap. Sorry, this is not a fun game for her. Ugh. The world was. This is very hard. I have not spoken to anyone about this since Canehurst initially. And let me assure you that did involve some torture. Fine. The world was quarantined for being part of a chaotic cult, secretly. And Canehurst wanted me to give him information on what we studied within this cult so he could find the people who had fled and originally started it.
Excellent. And what kind of person, if there were more than one?
Isn't that another question, Inquisitor?
I mean, I would agree that it was. Ask away, friend.
All right. So, you have this big mission for the Imperium.
Yes.
Tell me about that. What is it?
There is a cabal of approximately 10 heretics, demonologists, xenos, and other monstrous threats to the Imperium who will be tearing the Emperor from the Golden Throne. Originally, they were going to piss into his skull, but that's been eliminated now. Great job, Emperor! And he looks at the Aquilus, gives him a thumbs up. He's like, it's been a very good time. We've shut down one of them and the replacement and a third. So I believe they're down to 8. So we have 8 more people to kill. Otherwise, they destroy the Emperor, shatter the Astronomicon, and throw the entire galaxy into darkness, destroying the Imperium.
Oh, is that all?
Yes, it's only 8. We've got rid of 2. I feel very accomplished.
Actually, it makes sense. You said you were looking for someone that Canehurst had been working with.
Yes, yes.
Kanehurst had similar crazy ideas about how to save the Imperium, and it sounds like you two would have get along fabulously if you weren't dead.
I mean, that's quite possible, but you describe him as crazy, and I'm quite a rational man. So, what were these people who ran this cult for you, who allowed you to suborn a world and escape, leading to quarantine instead of exterminatus?
Well, that is the problem, really, with this situation. We thought it was an Imperium, not cult. We thought we were all part of the Imperium because the people running it were Space Marines. But it turns out that they were quite heretical and left the planet before they could be chased down.
Interesting. Do you know the names of any of these Space Marines?
I didn't make up any.
I
But-
don't think you would, Morgan. I feel like unless you were like from the way you told me the kind of history of your character, I don't know that Morgan. I feel like you would see Space Marines at like the city center doing cool stuff, but it's not like they're the local cop who like walks the streets and gets a free bagel every day. It would be my take. But Ryan, if the subtext of your question is whether or not they had tartan armor, plaid armor, if you will, the answer is a resounding no.
All right, and you've never heard the name Sandor Rafferty?
No, that name is not familiar to me.
Well, balls, that would have been really lucky. All right, so this checks out. He's hunting down those Marines, interested in heretics. You would allow him to do that. He would not want to reveal that you had... Did he pick you up from the quarantine world, or did you make your way off-world?
You're going to owe me a lot of questions, and I will just keep those in the back of my mind going forward.
Well, I think I owe you one right now. Let's just cash it in. This is part of the fun.
Let's see.
Or you can ask Attikus. He's happy to contribute.
While Attikus is eating lots of food, she's like, this man does not seem like a threat, really. Not mentally. She turns
She's not
back.
wrong.
She turns back to the Inquisitor. I take you for a man who cares a lot of the Imperium and seems very pious. What is the last thing you did that made you have to confess or feel bad about things you have done?
And that is an interesting question. The last... Oh, I think you've trapped me to something where I might have to lie. I could tell you the last thing I confessed. I can't remember the last thing I feel bad for. I don't know if I've ever felt bad for anything. It's the man upstairs driving the bus. I'm just engaging his will.
Yeah, with a mouthful, Attikus raises his cup of recap. Is like, a man who walks in the light of the Emperor.
Thank you, Colonel.
I am getting an idea of how the two of you operate. And now she'll finally eat some food. I accept this madness.
I mean, having spoken the flaky, delicious word of the Emperor, the three of you do sort of take in food. Valentyne, you had a follow-up question. I do want to bring this interrogation to a close, but you did have a final question, I believe, which would also mean Morgan has one. So what are the final two questions of the interrogation?
Why did you serve the Inquisition and then not run? You're clearly capable. You could flee this world. You could go anywhere. You have a skill set far beyond your companion, and you had no emotional or physical ties to this world or this job. Why? It's the only thing about you that makes no logical sense. And I say that as the highest compliment.
Well, I suppose I felt I achieved all of my goals, which was just to be left alone. And I enjoyed that for a time, but that time has come to an end. So here we are now in the future, seeing where things will go.
All right, you get one more.
My last question, I think I will keep it. And I will ask you another time, and you will not lie to me when I ask you.
I promise not to lie about anything that occurred before this meeting.
All right.
Well, that's quite good, sir.
Yes, excellent. Well, welcome aboard. We found a new mission for you to help save the Emperor. I'm excited for you to be joining the team. And most importantly, when this journey is complete, I promise you either a space station or a moon. Something solo, something that can be just for you, something where you can choose who comes and who goes, and your own little realm.
You are very strange, Inquisitor, but I am glad to meet you too.
And with that, you gather your things, the chairs, of course. You leave the pastries, for they are not for Eli. And having enlisted another member to your heresy, I mean your cause, the two of you make your way out. And as the door closes behind you, there is just kind of one lingering question, Valentyne, amidst the others you have for Morgan, but one that's just kind of been tickling the back of your mind, that's just ever so slightly troublesome. Of course, the Emperor will provide an answer at some point because, he's driving the bus. But you got to wonder, what exactly did a Xenos Inquisitor want with a Chaos Space Marine cult? Passage from the journal of Stewart, heir, Lyriel Asher. Oh, Grandmama, Grandpapa, you would be simply horrified to discover what they've done to the gardening shed. When I think of old Stefan Tandri, our beloved gardener, just sitting there idling away the days snoozing under his hat, it is truly a memory I cherish, but one that will never be repeated, for I fear the beloved gardening shed now it is a place of horrors. I'm just happy that Stefan was dead centuries before he could have seen it happen, but based on the stories that were passed down to me, it sounds like he would have hated it. It is important to note, for historical context, that Lyriel Asher never lived here as an heir. Eli, you are having a good fucking sleep under that hat. You don't know if it's magic or if it's just this hard-ass bench, but you are having a good snooze when it is interrupted. Valentyne and Attikus, you arrive at the gardening shed of dearly departed gardener Stefan Tandri, with a meal for Eli. Valentyne, what'd you order for Eli?
For Eli, it's all meat pies. It's all like hefty Irish brunch and dinner foods.
Amazing. So hearty smelling food. It's hot. It's savory. So there's all those kind of aromas. But Eli, you're also passed out. You're not exactly just sleeping. So it's not like, a cartoon where a character awakes to a nice smell and floats over to the door.
Yeah, Eli doesn't know Stefan, and if he knew him, it wouldn't change what he does next, but he hears something wakens him out of his unconsciousness. And
it's Valentyne setting the room around an unconscious Eli.
He just kind of jerks awake and then sits up suddenly, bends over, and vomits into the hat.
And thus ends the historical legacy of Stefan Tandri, famed gardener of Hearthold. So you vomit deeply into the hat. When the steward finds this, the visions he has of the idyllic past will be further blasphemed against. He, of course,
Valentyne goes, Steward.
I need a garbage. Do you know what? You're here already. If you could
Yes.
just hold this for me. And he just gives him the hat and puts it in the steward's hands.
And he just looks down at it, and like as he looks down, it's like his face melts. Like it's just a look of the one of the last sacred corners of, again, the legends he would have been told, because this place has been in Inquisition hands for like a long time. He's like a European heir who like is like, oh well, like my family did have a castle, could have a castle again, and it's like no. So he looks at this hat and he just says, yes, of course, Inquisitor, I will dispose of this relic of a bygone age. And he just sweeps out of the room.
Perfect. The Emperor thanks you for serving your purpose.
Eli says, "Oh, was that hat a friend of his?"
Well, it would appear so, but not a friend of mine. All right. So, Colonel Attikus, I believe you've already met Eli Sharpe. Eli, what is your rank?
My rank, Agent of the Inquisition, has
All right,
been for 8 years.
We're going to go with Eli then. So nice to meet you, Eli. I brought food. Please eat. People always think of the Inquisition as a torturous organization, but I know that negative emotions are a sin against the Emperor, so I'll have none of them. We're just going to keep things nice and brisk and light.
I've been an agent of the Inquisition. That's just not true.
Well, what's not true? I'm fascinated by this.
I don't know, your approach. It's just wrong.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing, which is the rest of the Inquisition is wrong. And he just like, comes over and he sits down. And he's like, see, the thing is, most people don't actually read the treaties written by psychers, which is an important part of understanding the whole circumstance. Clearly, you're an agent of the Inquisition. You'll either have clearance for this or you'll be executed. Anyways. So most people think of, there are the dark gods who will remain unnamed in this room because we don't need to summon their attention. But all of them tend to come from an emotional state. There's a theory that they have been summoned as an echo of humanity in the warp, meaning any negative emotion that you or I or anyone has just enhances the strength of these beasts. But what happens with the positive emotions? What happens with control, with order, with righteousness, with strength, with bravery? Well, you may have noticed there are a whole myriad of monstrous entities out in the universe, and there is only one good, great, grand, fantastic old Emperor, and that is our boy. All positive emotions feed the Emperor, all negative emotions feed the rest. There is a great deal of ignorance in this galaxy, which we must all face down and shine a light upon, unless it's too dangerous and then we kill anyone who sees it. But this is a fundamental truth. Being chipper is serving the Emperor. Getting all sour-pussed is a way of serving the enemy.
Ryan, can you please roll me a willpower and discipline? Difficulty 4. 1 disadvantage because you have no idea what this is or why it's happening to you. And you're in the middle of something.
What's the difficulty again, Tom?
4. Do you and you gain a boost, I believe, for just like strength of will?
Yeah, if it would be dazed or confusing or anything like that,
Yeah,
I remove setback from that.
Okay, it's in that ballpark, so you can remove that setback.
Great. 1 success, 2 threat.
Okay.
Which is incredibly unlikely based on that roll. The odds were not in my favor.
So as you finish this kind of like beautiful thesis on kind of a treatise on how to live under the guidance of the Emperor, you blink, and for a moment you see someone you can assume to be Sandor in the plaid Space Marine livery, planting a banner next to where you previously saw Eli Sharpe sitting. You see the corpse of the Emperor having been ripped off the chair, and you see him just kind of jam a banner down. And it's too fast to read anything because unfortunately by succeeding you don't actually get much of this vision. But you just hear him yell, "Fair and equal." And then immediately, like as you blink, you're just seeing Eli again. Your vision kind of swims back into focus, which is a fucking complicated thing through bionic eyes. But it's clearly more your brain struggling with image. But then suddenly you're just back in the room staring at Eli, and you feel full of exaltation and almost reverie, like you just finished this like impassioned speech, and you feel a slightly heightened version of all the emotions that you had during that. You don't necessarily need to reveal this to anyone in the room. This is just what has happened to you in the split second after you finished your speech and blinked.
Tom, would Eli have noticed anything sort of odd or unexpected shift in Valentyne?
You can roll for it if you want, Laura. Let's go with I think it's probably just perception, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I don't
that's fine.
think there's much there, unless you've got some psyker powers we don't know about. So
absolutely not.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I'd take perception. I'd also take vigilance.
Actually, vigilance makes more sense.
Yeah, because I feel like
let's
it's
do
more
that.
you're just always on the ready. That said, I am going to set your difficulty at 5 because you are hungover. You've never met Valentyne really in a sober state. Also, he has bionic fucking eyes, which makes all of this like it's not like his pupils dilate and it's like, oh no, something. It's a man with robot eyes blinked.
Okie dokie, I will roll.
Yeah. And Ryan, you said you had 2 threat.
Yes.
So let's add those as boost to your roll, Laura.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, rolling. 1 success, 1 threat.
Okay. So yeah, you notice something happens. You're not sure what it is, but I think Eli...
Eli lifts his finger and says, hey, what was that there?
Oh, there was a vision from the Emperor. Highly valuable, very important. So,
Visions.
yes.
Visions.
Now, Eli,
You still got some psyker shit going on?
No, that would be ridiculous. Why would I have to read the treaties if I understood the warp?
Well, psychers get visions. Who else
Yes.
gets visions?
Saints?
Oh, you're a saint now. Saint Valentyne? Is that what I'm calling you now?
Oh, see, I was really hoping we could avoid having to be hostile in this conversation. It's interesting because I assumed the conversation with Morgan would go like this, and the conversation with you would go like my conversation with Morgan. You've been abandoned by the Navy and the Inquisition. What use are you?
What use am I? You're the one who frickin' pulled me out. You tell me.
Do you know what? I've come to enjoy a certain amount of truth in my life, and I feel like it helps stabilize these relationships. You're useful to me for reasons you may not understand, which means I can put you in a box and just allow Morgan to walk around and be highly useful. Or we can have a conversation where we establish that you give a damn about the Emperor, the Imperium, and the Inquisition.
Do not doubt for a minute that I don't give a damn about the Emperor.
Then do not doubt me, he says, getting up and pounding a fist on the table. It's a great day. It's a great day. I'm not feeling negative emotions.
Oh, son. All right.
Valentyne, take 2 strain, please. This sudden outburst, you are more exhausted than you'd expect to be from this sudden outburst of unpleasantness. Because damn it, it is a good day. Attikus, how are you reacting during all of this? This has taken a turn, and I think given that you probably didn't notice any shift in Valentyne, it's kind of gone from 0 to 100. What are you doing?
Yeah, Attikus was eating delicious meat pies, and has only now just kind of paused at this outburst with just like pastry and kind of meat gristle grease kind of just all around his mouth and lips. He swallows hard and he says, "So would you like me to rip his arms off?"
Rip my arms off? Are you kidding me? We just got to some truth here. Now at least I know you're human, not Saint Valentyne.
Give me word, sir.
I'm still considering it, Attikus. As I've said, though, torture tends to walk down dark paths. I'd rather prefer just removing the head. Eli, what? Why? Why does anyone bring you anywhere? Why does Morgan Rhalls like you? I can't understand what purpose you serve other than problematic self-righteousness, which is admittedly a charming trait in some.
Well, I spent, I suppose, 45 years of my life on an Imperial Cobra-class destroyer. Most of that as Master of Arms leading boarding parties, fighting heretics and Xenos and abominations, and I was damn good at it. That's why I'm kept around.
Yeah, why don't you do that anymore?
Because I got left here.
See, you're leaving out this middle bit that I'm learning is the most important part of stories. They call it Act 2, often the road of trials. What were your trials, my friend?
I thought you knew I was Navy. You knew I was Navy before I got here. I figure you know everything about me. You know how I got here. You know why Canehurst picked me up.
Yeah, one thing that would be really healthy and good for your long-term lifespan is if you stopped assuming things and started answering questions.
Jeez. Well, I mean, it's not a secret. It's friggin' record, and everyone knows. You might as well know, too. Have you ever had to sacrifice people, you've worked with? People under your command? People above your command? In the name of the Inquisition?
I mean, yeah.
How many, you figure? Did you do 15,000 in one go?
Technically, no, because I was an interrogator, but we did lose a battleship into a hive city. So, if we assume that I was a quarter responsible for that, then a lot more than 15,000.
Well, I was directly responsible for venting 15,000 people aboard the ship that I served. All at the order of Canehurst. You know why? Because the damn Tyranids! The Tyranids!
Attikus, what's your response to Tyranids? Do you know about Tyranids?
Does Attikus know about Tyranids? Tyler doesn't fucking know about Tyranids.
I would say no. He probably doesn't.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I've always imagined the Tyranids fitting, again, in terms of like how, as a player or like someone who enjoys the hobby, you walk into a games workshop, it's just like, fucking Tyranids, Necrons, this, that.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas I feel like in universe, it's much more like
it's compartmentalized a bit more.
Well, yeah, it's like the xenomorphs in Alien, where it's like you shouldn't know.
Tyranids.
Yeah, exactly. Either you're directly fighting them, or it's like, oh, we're just going to quietly send a bunch of Marines into space to deal with this because we don't want anyone to know that there's
all right, so
blade-armed nightmares lurking in space.
I'm learning a lot today. Finding out about Tyranids, discovered croissants. A lot.
Well, so you've just heard the word Tyranids, and you know that Eli is reacting very heavily to this. Would Attikus chime in for clarification, or are you just going to let this play?
He considers Valentyne to be a master of his craft, and so he assumes this is all part of the delicate dance of interrogation. He got someone who was kind of redirecting questions initially to now just start shouting things. So it must be working. He must be doing something right.
Fair enough.
Oh, Attikus, I can see the confusion on your face. Tyranids are a highly rapacious, genetic absorption, hive mind Xenos. Tremendously dangerous, collapsing one of the fronts of the Imperium, but not this one. So, someone else's problem, we're here for the heretics. We have to keep the Emperor alive so everyone else can beat the Tyranids. Why? How? I would just say.
Okay, here's yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
I'll tell you what happened. the Justitia, my ship. We were called in to help this Canehurst rid some station on some planet of these disgusting Xenos. I didn't know what that. I'd never heard of the goddamn Tyranids before. But guess what? Guess what? They get into you. They get into you and you don't even know it. They change people, and they change them slowly. They get into their DNA, and that's what happened to our captain before we left. And Canehurst knew it. He knew it. He didn't know how far it had spread. All we knew was that I hadn't been back on that ship. I'd been celebrating with Canehurst. For my part, and I had to go back to that ship and vent all 15,000 people on board into the void. The Navy didn't like it, so there we go.
All right, so after the mass murder in the name of the Inquisition, and then theoretically being saved by an Inquisitor,
murder, purge of the gene-stealing Tyranids, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, it can be both at the same time. It's one of the joys of, low Gothic.
I don't know. Can you murder Xenos? I don't think you can. I think you
Attikus, I feel like this is
them.
a realm of your expertise. Have you ever murdered a Xenos?
Orcs are Xenos, right?
Yes, they are.
Oh, yes. Then, yeah. I didn't catch everything with the explanation of what Tyranids are. I did catch Xenos are dangerous, and let me tell you, you can kill dangerous Xenos.
Yes, Atticus's body count in combat against Xenos might actually match yours, Eli. You two could get along famously. Now, what use did Canehurst have for you after saving you, or did he put you out to pasture with a little bar as just a pat on the back, as it were?
Well, I mean, he rescued me from execution by the Navy.
So leaning towards the pat on the back thing, if there's not a specific...
I mean, I
use to
served
it
with him
at all.
for 3 years before he left me on this planet. I worked for him.
Excellent. I have a
Freaking
question about
useless. I
Morgan-
still have skills. I still have my training.
So do you want to serve?
Serve what?
The Emperor.
Of course I do.
Wonderful. Well, I'm speaking as his voice right now, and I can tell you we're on a quest to stop a cabal of at least 8 heretics, including a space marine, one of the Eldari, and a heretic psyker, from yanking him off the throne and plunging the Imperium into an unending age of darkness.
Wait. No Astronomicon.
You're correct. It would be the end
No.
of the Navy.
No Navy. No.
Okay,
everyone
we are
just
talking at the
trapped
same time. The pauses
forever.
are exactly the same length between you and I. This is tremendously frustrating. I'm going to let you go, and then give me a sign when you're done.
Sign when I'm done. Well, what? Why are you wasting time with questions? We should be out there.
Well, because I want to save the Emperor, not bring another Inquisitor's theoretically mentally unstable and dangerous assistants onto a ship where they could shoot me, abandon the mission, or run away.
You say unstable. I asked to sleep it off. You gave me what? 30 minutes?
No, I had you arrested. This was not a conversation.
Yeah.
You were under arrest and you yelled things at your guards.
See how stable I am once you slept this off a bit more. It's your fault. I'm coming with you.
These are bold assumptions on your part. You may come with us. I am confiscating your weapons, and you will have to earn them.
You'll see.
So will you, as we save the Emperor from our enemies. And then he says, gives you a salute, clicks his heels, and walks out. And then when the door closes at Attikus, he's like, and possibly from Eli.
So having somewhat reluctantly recruited Eli Sharpe, You make your way kind of back to your command trailer, which again is just kind of on the edge of the gardens. As you know, Treseus was doing was looking into things for you as you were continues to look into things for you as you've been working, and as you approach, he's actually excitedly standing outside, and you can see he's actually working a small puzzle cube. So think like a Rubik's cube, but a grimdark version. So it's made of like heavy metal and is kind of sad looking and kind of screeches when you twist it. But it's clear he's trying to get some latent energy out. And then as soon as he sees you, he kind of like rolls down his arm into his satchel. And he says, Inquisitor, Colonel, it is excellent to see you. I have fantastic news for you. I trust your interrogations. They went well, they went bad. Do we need cleanup crew on Isle? People you brought,
everything actually went rather swimmingly, or at least as well as one could hope. I do need to get that metallic hawk released, and I also need to order all alcohol removed from our ship.
We've been keeping an eye on
Eli shudders somewhere. Doesn't know why.
I suspect I might have to argue with your pilot a little bit, but I'm sure we can make that happen. Seems a shame from the reports. It was a beautifully well-stocked bar. Heavy index on the Vicodin, which implies a low taste. The New Crown reeks of New Crown. If you don't enjoy Amar Sec during this new Svil, it is disappointing. So it is good. It is for the best. We take it out, pour it down the gutter.
Wonderful. Yes, you should also make note for the Inquisition bars and any other bar on this planet that Vicodin is actually made of orc refuse. So I would highly suggest destroying all stores of it.
Honestly, having tasted it, this is not a surprise, and I would like nothing more than to purge this terrible, low-class rubbing alcohol from the planet. Very, very easy request done very pleasantly. Also, it is wise to keep the blasphemy out of the glasses of the faithful. So, yes, we will do. Inquisitor, I'm glad to hear your interrogations went well. We've had a small breakthrough, I'm pleased to announce, in terms of how we can ascertain the information. If they are willing, if you have come to an agreement with either of the prisoners, we may have a means of extracting any, shall we say, deeply imprinted instructions or knowledge or waypoints from their minds. If they are willing and on side now. Are they on side now, or are we looking more at an auto seance, talk to the ghosts?
Yes, no, they have both agreed to serve alongside us. If it is a high-risk procedure, I suggest we perform it on Eli Sharpe first.
So the one with the strongest mind, the most intact understanding of their surroundings, the one with the best picture of the galaxy in their head, yes?
The one that is the most... what's the term?
Expendable, sir.
Thank you, Attikus. I appreciate it. The one who's the most expendable. If we're going to break a mind, I'd rather preserve the better one.
Excellent. Well, the good news is the Mechanicus Magi Kotov has done this procedure many times. The imprinting that he invented is not entirely above board, but he has done it a lot. So at least practice makes perfect, So 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert. So I'm hoping it is not fatal, but as you say, we'll say we keep the Amar Sec and... if we have to break a bottle of Vicodin, no tears shed.
If you flip through the Emperor's Tarot enough times, the death card does come up. So does not mean you give up on the tarot. It just means you accept. Sometimes the Emperor sends you a gift that may be disguised as a punishment.
These are wise words to live by. I can see why you are the Inquisitor. And I see why you, and he points to Attikus, he says, and why you follow him with your big arm.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot today.
Did you enjoy the Danishes? I noticed you have traces of them in the pot pie in your magnificent mustache.
Oh, is that a Danish?
Yes, it is called the Danish. It is not, the name is not related to any specific geographical place, but sometimes the words, they slip through into Low Gothic, you know?
Yeah, I like the Danish.
Very good. Well, it seems as though you have some saved for later. This is a good way to be. And then he kind of like catches himself and says, but I forget myself. The Lord Inquisitor Sabriel Graves is standing by to introduce you to your Mechanicus Magi, Inquisitor, if you will follow me.
Excellent. Yes. Could Morgan Rhalls join us for this? I believe Eli Sharpe is indisposed, one might say.
Yes, I mean, the procedure will be with this Mechanicus soon, so we will bring Eli when we are ready for the expendable, but for now we keep the spendable. Is that the opposite? I do not know. We bring Morgan, and you said the bird. This will be good news. The bird has been bouncing around. We do not know why.
Yes.
And sorry, Inquisitor, one final question for you. The Eli Sharpe, the expendable one, does they require any medical attention? Shall we send the good doctor Thunderhorn to look in on them? We use a beastman doctor to throw all the prisoners off. They are like, why is this creature here? And then the creature is like, I love the Emperor because he really loves... Like, I love the Emperor, you love the Emperor. He really loves the Emperor in the way only a mutant can. So, shall we send the Thunderhorn? He is honestly not a bad doctor. If you need one on the ship, he might be a good one to have. He's very hearty, hard to kill, evidently.
Excellent. Yes, I would be happy to have him assigned to our vessel. And I would like him to treat Eli, who claims to be exhausted and hungover. So I believe we could set up an IV drip to rehydrate the old Navy man. And if we could also send an armed guard to make sure that Eli Sharpe cannot hurt and or kill the good doctor, that would be excellent.
This sounds like a good plan. And we will release the bird, which is good, because it has been bumping around something awful. So they open the box. Toby flies free. Caca! Which isn't the noise that a 40k robot would make, but it's the one that happens in my head when a bird goes free.
Del, I have a random question, because you've programmed Toby, right? So what is Toby's war cry? Because it could theoretically be any sound.
It is true. I think I just have always imagined the classic canned eagle, the scream, but like it, like the exact the sound clip that just plays the same way every time.
Oh yeah. Like what you'd find in like a slightly run down Parks and Recreation, like welcome to the park. Here's the stuffed eagle. Like
I'm just imagining like a little bit of like a crackle fuzz, like at the
100%.
very beginning and the end.
I'm just
beautiful.
picturing the Colbert Report intro when they had that eagle camera would sneak around his desk.
Yeah, but like that shot through like an old trolley speaker.
Exactly.
Beautiful. I love
Great.
it.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, it is better than my so we can keep it. Great. So it is
That was
a
the sound
free
of the
bird.
door opening.
You know, I do not know why we put the double hinge. It seems like an unnecessary step. You just put one hinge, one. It's fine. So together, you meet up with Morgan, and the three of you make your way back towards the sort of again central garden area. That said, Morgan, Eli is not with them. Would you comment on this, or are you in survival mode?
I think she's gonna feel it out for right now, but she would have also tried to find her gun clip and put that back. I don't know if she's got her weapons back or anything like that too.
That's up to Valentyne, but you do find the clip.
You'd have gotten all your gear. He's given you your hawk back. You're cleared.
Cool.
Like you're on board.
All right, so she's gonna play nice for now. This is like it is a little uncomfortable where Eli is, but that's like I'm not gonna push it right now because things are going decently. So she's just gonna follow on by. And,
Great.
And when he's not flying, Toby can like sit on her shoulder. So she's walking around giant metal bird.
How big is Toby? Just for me to picture a bird on his shoulder, because then I go from like huge mechanical eagle to pirate parrot. So like, what's the rate on Toby?
It's in between, because even the description of the bird says it can fit on a belt. Like you can wrap it and stick it on your belt, like its legs. But I'm imagining it's like a couple feet tall, but it's not a person-sized bird.
Okay,
it's not
an emperor penguin, but like a regular penguin.
I'm
like a
thinking
smaller,
around
like a
there.
puffin,
Because it's
like bigger
not
than a
that-
puffin.
So
It's
it's this
not
like
that-
1 foot on each shoulder, resting body on your head like a giant bird hat if it's that big, or how does it do the shoulder rest?
No, I think it's just got really grippy claws, and they are extending. So I think it can just fit. Because that's the thing, is it's not able to pick up people because it's so big. It's just because it has a giant motor in it. It's just able to lift a lot.
Okay.
Nice.
See, that's the distinction for
Big
me. I thought it could only
eagle-sized.
pick someone up because it was like a G.I. Joe action figure backpack size thing.
It's silhouette 0, so it's the size of like a cat or a dog. Like that's
okay.
but it's just able to pick up silhouette 0 and one thing.
Which is very hearty. Okay,
So,
all right.
So it has like
Interesting.
long legs on one shoulder, and its turbine is just holding its weight above you.
Pretty much.
Amazing.
It's just floating there.
Yep,
He's hanging
great.
out.
Gonna mess your hair up. Constantly have
Make
to
sure it doesn't get like sucked up in there. Yeah.
Amazing. So you're kind of brought into the central space, and Graves actually like kind of nods to the three of you. Doesn't like just nods at Morgan as though she's always been a member of the party, in a very much like this is just kind of how Inquisitor bands go. Like one day you're the enemy, one day you're the friend. Like it's like the fucking X-Men. It's like, is Magneto like, is he on our team today? Or are we fighting him? Is he dead today? Who knows? We'll find out when we get there. So just nods to all three of you, and he says, "Oh, good, Inquisitor. I see you've Vanikov has brought you finally. I trust your interrogations went well."
Yes, as swimmingly as one could hope. Thank you. Thank you for loaning us your facilities and all of the assistance you've given my cause.
The pleasure and service is, of course, all mine in the name of the Emperor. I fucked this up. Honestly, that's a term I learned from some hivers on the lower levels. It's apparently
Oh, me too.
fun
It's a
term.
catchy word, eh? Confusing about its meaning. It seems to mean mating, disliking something. Sometimes it's an adverb. Very confusing word.
Honestly, if I had the time, I would love to study how the hivers come up with such terminology, but that will have to be fall to someone else with less important duties than you or I. Now, Inquisitor, I have a member I would like to propose for your retinue. He will likely be of great use to you, but he is, well, not only is he somewhat odd, he is also a bit of a threat, but one that you've already encountered in some way, shape, or form. Please, follow me. And it begins to lead you kind of out of the gardens, down some stairs. It's almost like a labyrinth built kind of into one of the corners, like a small little, think like the Pan's Labyrinth, like giant stone well situation, where it's like a curling stair down to kind of like, a carved labyrinth on the ground. So kind of like big, beautiful stone walls, but low. And of course, for Inquisition purposes, like not quite the dungeon, but gardens don't really come with dungeons. There's a separate dungeon for that. So brings you down. And as all of you come down, there is a sort of a large computer console system set up, bunch of screens, bunch of different systems, and you can hear the clink of a chain. And as you come down, there is a figure, the aforementioned Mechanicus Magi, moving around. And you can tell that he's like chained to a post in the center of the room. But it's a pretty thin chain. And it gives him a lot of room of movement. And you can see he's got like a bed, he's got a desk, and obviously he's got this computer set up. So he's continuing to do work and monitor things. But as is often the way, he's clearly been put to work for inquisitorial purposes, despite being a threat of some sort. He's kind of got sort of like vaguely curly, shaggy hair. He's wearing what would have at some point been a very fashionable leather jacket, kind of casual, almost a bomber cut. So a little bit different than kind of the long sweeping capes or kind of like coat-tailed things you would normally see in Imperial society. And he's kind of muttering to himself. His hands are always in motion. You can see, and he's got black goggles that occasionally kind of like one of them will spring out and he'll just like click it back in at a speed and a kind of casualness that denotes that this happens to him all the time. It's just gotten to a point where he doesn't even notice anymore, but it's clearly kind of like an odd augmentation that's gone kind of wrong, or it might just be really old. And he's looking at a number of different machines as you're kind of brought down, and Graves says, Inquisitor Valentyne, I would like to introduce you to Gideon Kotov. He's of the Crucible Resolviate, and like he grits his teeth ever so slightly and says, and suddenly Gideon chimes in without turning around. He says, the Xeno machine spirits, and he turns and he like clicks a goggle back in. He says, hi, nice to meet you. Hi, hello. And he just kind of like points to all three of you, gives you a little wave, and he says, a lot of people get a little too, they just get a little too fixated on, the big, the big one, the big machine god, right? But the Xenos, they've got their own things, they've got their own ways, they've got their own machines. So why wouldn't we, consider those? And again, like Graves just like clenching and unclenching his jaw almost imperceptibly. I think like Valentyne and Morgan, you definitely notice this. Attikus, I don't know that you'd be on the lookout for that.
This guy's blaspheming right in front of my face, right?
Like at distance, like you're still coming down the stairs, so you just kind of like looking up.
I just see him, and I also see red. That's what Attikus sees.
Valentyne, you'd probably know that this would rub Attikus the wrong way, but also probably you have some reaction to it. What do you do?
Valentyne is always intensely curious in these scenarios. I mean, what do you know about the Eldari?
Oh, yeah, the Eldar, as I like to call them. Yeah, they're interesting folks. Long-lived, which is of some, when they don't accidentally get themselves killed, but summoning things they shouldn't have with their weird space orgies, which admittedly do sound kind of fun, but also don't love the after effects of the demonology and that sort of thing. Interesting people, interesting weapons, a little low tech. The shuriken catapults. I've never understood why you would want to flick things as I understand they're deadly, but give me a good bolter any day. But interesting stuff. I got to tell you though, my real area of specialty is the tin boys. The Necrons. I'm sorry. And he kind of like looks to Morgan and Attikus, and he's like, sorry, maybe I shouldn't. Do you have clearance? Can we talk? We can talk, right?
They have the same clearance that I do. You can say anything to them you'd say to me.
Yeah, okay, great. Well,
Attikus, don't kill this one, please.
Attikus, where are you on the stairs?
He hasn't moved, but he was basically just waiting for the word go from Valentyne, and now he's got the word stop. So he'll stay put, but he is confused and scared and angry.
Entirely fair. These are all reasonable reactions, I think, for someone of Atticus's station to be having. Also, between this and the beastman that you've, I think, just heard, you saw him, like there's just like back-to-back heresies just fucking hanging out here, which is not, again, kind of what you imagined from the, there's kind of like an order that is explained to everyone in the Imperium who isn't at this level. It's just like, no, of course, we kill all of them. No,
this is very black and white. Yeah.
And then, is it though? Is it bone white and chaos black? Maybe not. So you stop on the stairs. You don't charge down and pulp this guy, which is probably for the best. And he says, right. So the Necrons, the robot. Well, I mean, they kind of like that the beautiful bird there, but evil in a bad way, and like clicks a goggle back in. I says their tomb ships have always been of great interest to me. They can travel great distances without losing anyone, because they're robots, but also stasis is interesting. It's actually Lord Graves tells me that you're already familiar with my work. The tomb ships that the dearly departed colleague of mine, Billingberg, employed. Those were all me.
Interesting. I've made use of one of those to do the Emperor's work, despite its original heretical intent. Lord Inquisitor Graves, what use do you intend this particular heretic to have to my cause?
And again, Graves, like, there's a look of apology in his eyes as he turns to you, and he just says, as much as my gut and sword hand would like to make short work of Kotov, his understanding of heretical Xenos machinery has been, quite frankly, unparalleled in my experience. The tomb ships of Billingberg are of great concern. They are why we sent assassins out. And again, you have my eternal apologies that you got caught in that particular crossfire. That said, he has created these heretical things. He knows ways to unlock the mind, ways to unlock machines that none others do. Based on the kind of mission you're on and the lack of support you'll have, someone of his versatility and flexibility, not to mention expendability, might be of some use to you and some value. In the immediate sense, he turns and he says, Kotov, tell them what you told me. And Kotov nods. He says, "Yeah. So, I hear you're you probably." And he points at Morgan. Says, "We're trying to get something from out of your noggin, right? So here's the thing."
Morgan looks at Valentyne with that.
We're starting with Eli. Continue. He'll just say to Kotov.
Right. So, a lot of my work involved creating templates, creating ways to make people a little bit more useful to Billingberg, to the Inquisition. Although I guess it turns out maybe he's not Inquisition. Again, I'm sorry, like low rung on the ladder here. Take for example the case of Brutus Abagnale. His family they ran into some trouble, so they were looking for ways to make amends. So I took one of their favorite sons, Commodus, and I just it wasn't a pretty process, but I was able to get literally inside his brain and kind of just take out all that soup of memories and personality, and then just imprint it onto you saw, right? So I found a way to imprint different personalities onto blank templates, onto people, heretics, prisoners, honestly, pretty much anyone. And in doing so, byproduct, learned how to find some of those buried memories. Because, if you're going to overwrite someone's entire personality so they think they're some fucking hero guy, you'll learn how to do it without necessarily having to dissect a favorite son every time, So all that to say, and he points to the machine behind him, you bring me a willing participant and I'll get you what you need.
Excellent. We'll summon Eli Sharpe the moment the doctor is done with him. Morgan, your first mission is to convince Eli Sharpe to get into that machine and allow us to dig out the memories that we need.
Morgan just smirks. I will see what I can do, Inquisitor.
Excellent. I will take the madman. This sounds fantastic if today's test goes well. And the work we are doing here will save the Emperor. Its success is our greatest priority. So let's do this. Attikus, do you have any questions or concerns? Let's talk over on the side. I don't think everyone needs to hear them.
Yeah. Attikus will join you. Load of concerns. One question. Are we really doing this, sir? Mixing with their ilk, heretics and all? I've seen just heresy after heresy, blasphemy after blasphemy here. This is not what I was taught the Imperium was like.
That's true. And the Imperium at large is not like this. Because the Imperium at large are not being spoken to by the Emperor, but I know our path is true. You and I stand in the light. Those heretics stand in the shadows. And sometimes the light those of righteousness, we have to hold on to the armor of our contempt and step into the darkness to haul forth those who must face punishment. These are lesser heretics. These are mutants. These are blasphemies of a small scale. I'm sure you've cursed. I'm sure you may have taken the Emperor's name in vain. You may have done these small things. But you are not a heretic. Their crimes are worse, and we hunt Sandor Rafferty. And you may think, is this the right path? But while I spoke with Eli Sharpe today, I had a vision. I had a vision of Sandor Rafferty standing in the Emperor's throne room over the corpse of the Emperor, raising a banner, decrying the most insane code I've ever heard of in the history of the Imperium. Fair and equal, as though all are equal. Clearly, insanity that must be shut down.
Attikus spits.
Exactly. This is why the Emperor sent you to me. Because you are pure of heart, and so am I. And we will stand in the darkness together and make sure that we remain in the light. Can you do this with me?
With you, sir, yes. Alone, without you, sir. I don't think so. So, with your guidance, at your command, sir, I will do this.
Excellent. If something happens to me, I need you to carry on this quest.
Oh, well, all right.
Not like today. It's very safe here. But I just mean in future down the line. If something happens, I need you to carry out this mission.
Right.
The only person I can trust to do that in this band is you. Which means, Attikus Vis, if I die, you have to assume the mantle of Lucius Valentyne.
Oh. You what?
If I die, you take my rosette, and you become Lucius Valentyne, and you save the Emperor, if you must.
Attikus thinks back to Lucius Valentyne, footage of him floating in space and being a corpse. And he just asks,
Are you not the first Lucius Valentyne, sir?
Yes, I am. I meant this metaphorically, and I'm afraid you're taking it tremendously literally.
Oh, yes, I am, sir.
Yeah, no, if something bad happens, impersonate me and save the Emperor. Until we find a better replacement, Morgan shows potential. So let's keep an eye on Morgan, and if Morgan turns out to be as everything we can hope, then it'll be her problem.
Oh, good. Oh, well, let's hope for that, then.
Okay, then let's just keep me alive until we can determine if Morgan can handle this.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Do you have any other doubts or concerns?
It's that man, if you can even call him a man, he said a lot just now that I don't know. I don't have anything else to say right now, but I don't even know what I'm hearing from him, sir. It makes no sense doing what he's doing.
Yes, he is a tremendously dangerous man.
And we're inviting him onto our ship, into our Inquisition.
Yes. Well, admittedly, he's not a part of our band. He is a servant who will be kept in quarters as such. The challenge is, the ship was almost destroyed. We had a crew of 3, and then I shot one of them. No, I stabbed one of them. See, it all blends together. I stabbed one with a chainsaw, so we're actually short help. You remember the first time I crashed onto the planet Vicodin, and that whole adventure was because we did not have a doctor and we did not have a good mechanicus. This one seems to know what he was doing. My last one, blasphemer, heretic, creepy obsessions.
Well, with all due respect, sir.
And he just gestures over to the other guys like,
blasphemer, heretic, unscrupulous obsession, sir.
You're not wrong, which is smart. You're showing incredible Lucius potential right now, which I am incredibly proud of you for.
He's just beaming at that. Like, he's fine now. You told him you're proud of him.
When we return to the ship, in your off hours, I charge you to observe this Mechanicus heretic. Bring evidence of any dangerous activities that he's taking place in. You can suborn Morgan or anyone else you wish to assist you with his quest. And when you can demonstrate that he is a threat to us and our mission directly, I will execute him. Or I will allow you the honor of executing him.
Yes, sir. It will be done.
Excellent. And Lucius is very proud as he walks Attikus back, because Attikus does not know this, but Attikus has just taken the first step towards interrogator training. So if he can keep his shit together, it's his first inquisitorial investigation. Can Lucius Valentyne shape this violent potato man into a possible future inquisitor? And the answer is maybe.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Attikus Vis, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Eli Sharpe, Del Borovic at Deltastic on Twitter as Morgan Rhalls, and our Game Master Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com, DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. The Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Sammy Boy, Orion Birchfield, Scott Garland, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Acrix, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Austin Nut Powers Fry, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Roman Brown, Shulzari, Christian Mendez, Spot Allen, Flynn 1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG It's Big Nick, Steve Wees, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.